Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and we are delighted to have back with us today Dr. Ted Baehr. He's the chairman of the Christian Film and Television Commission. He's authored quite a few books. Perhaps you've read some of those books through WorldNet Daily, like The Amazing Grace of Freedom and The Culture-Wise Family, and you probably have seen him on some of the other networks, but folks, now he's made it to the big time. He's on the Dove TV and radio. Anyway, Ted, nice to have you with us. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, it's great to be with you. I'm glad you even reached to Coos Bay. I have a friend in Coos Bay. I'm surprised.
Oh, we're up and down Southern Oregon and Northern California, all over the place. Hey, this is great. Tell us, what is the MovieGuide Awards?
The MovieGuide Awards is a place where you can get, well, the first place, it's just grown to be so big that I should be intensely nervous right now. What we do is we honor movies that honor faith and values. We give out a $100,000 prize for movies with Christian content that's presented to us by the John Templeton Foundation, funded by them, and another one for TV, and then a prize for free enterprise, and a prize for first-time scriptwriters, and 10 top movies for families, 10 top movies for mature audiences, but not what you would find in the Oscars or any of those. And the interesting thing is we are on the Reels channel this year on March 1st, just before the Oscars. The awards goes on February 2nd. And every day, if somebody calls and says, I want to be there. Billy Ray Cyrus called on, I guess, Thursday or Friday, and said that he wanted to come with Dionne Warwick and sing. So, you know, then we've got a lot of music acts, a lot of producers, writers, directors, heads of studios who come. And the real reason for all of this is I present a report to the entertainment industry that shows them that movies with faith and values does better at the box office. For instance, for the first time in the history of our doing this, the top 10 films, all of them had Christian faith in it of some degree. For instance, the little bit of Superman going to church to pray in front of a stained glass window, or, you know, the whole theme of Isaiah in The Hobbit. So, and then, of course, you had movies that were just overt. But here, the top 10 was amazing. 9 of the top 10 are among our award winners. None of the top 10 had any, perverse content, homosexual content, anti-American content, anti-patriotic content. None of the top 10 had any pro-communist content. So people, when they vote at the box office, are not voting the same way that when people go into the ballot box. And we show that to the movie studios, and then we say, look, we show you how to reach a broader audience. So a week ago, one of the men who had come a couple of years ago, who produced movies like Dumb and Dumber, but worse movies like Ménage à Trois, brought Michael Landon to lunch and wanted to have lunch with me on Saturday, and said to Michael, the reason I'm doing Christian films, your films now, is because I went to the MovieGuide Awards. And then this week, the head of Morgan Grace said the same thing, and the head of so several of the biggest companies are now getting the message that between, you know, L.A. and New York and the hinterland and Southern Oregon and other, there are people who want faith and values.
This is fabulous because hopefully Hollywood continues to get the message, but certainly it's showing up at the box office.
It's showing up at the box office, and let's be perfectly clear there. It's just like radio in Oregon. You know, you've got some people on one extreme and some people on the other. So it's you know, Hollywood is not a uniform group in lockstep, although you might think differently by looking at the Grammys, but there are a lot of people who are upset even going to the Grammys. So Hollywood has got a wide variety, and they know that the movies that get nominated, and I'm in the Broadcast Film Critics, which is the most prestigious organization. The movies that I nominate never make it into their group, and the movies that they nominate make no money at the box office. But there's that part of Hollywood that wants to be a member of the club, that wants to be Peck's bad boy, that wants to say we can go out and sneak behind the school building and do something nefarious. And that part of Hollywood gets a lot of press and attention. But the part of Hollywood that doesn't get a lot of press, and that's why I'm glad you're doing the show this morning, is the people who are coming from, let's say, Marvel, or the people who are made Frozen. One of them is a very strong Christian who put that song, Ferris Lord Jesus, in the beginning of it. So you have a lot of good people in Hollywood. You have a lot of people that are in the middle, just anxious to make money and loving their entertainment. And then you got people on the other extreme, but they get more press. You know, the rule in the press is if it bleeds, it leads. It's not about all the times that Captain America saves the world. It's about the one time that Captain America goes bonkers and goes to the Grammys for some nefarious reason.
Okay, so coming up shortly, give us some of the most notable nominees.
Of the movies that I love that people probably did not see, but should have seen, one of them is just great. I mean, I looked at it after we review 100% of the movies that open in 9 theaters or more. So we had movies that came out for the first time from Lionsgate. They did a very strong faith-based movie called Grace Unplugged, which is about a prodigal daughter. It's absolutely excellent, and they're coming to the gala. And then another one from Fox Searchlight, which is not known for doing these films, called Black Nativity, with Forrest Whitaker, which is about a prodigal daughter and prodigal son coming back to Christ. And it's not a nativity story per se. It's about a church, a black church that has a nativity. Now, in terms of big movies out there, we've got the ones that everybody expects. We've got Despicable Me, and with cute little Agnes always praying for Gru. And this time they want a mother, and they get the mother by the end. So I just spoiled that movie for you. And then Frozen, which goes through all the different types of love that there is, Rousseauian, romantic, and all of that. And at the end, the love is selfless love, willing to give up your life for another person, and with strong Christian undertones on it. And then, a whole bunch of mature audience films like Iron Man 3, where he says, when he goes and visits the place where the people first died, the crosses are there, and he says, well, clearly these people went to heaven and the other person went to hell. And he talks about taking the villains to church to reform them. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. Big movies, Superman I mentioned, and if you go to MovieGuide.org, you'll get a release of all the top movies for families, for mature audiences, the Epiphany nominated movies, the Epiphany nominated television. Of course, we've got the Bible, and the problem is we have other television programs that have just as much content. Tim Allen, who did Last Man Standing, has an overt scene of evangelism in the middle of the program. I am very proud of Tim Allen for doing that. So there's just a plethora of good movies and good entertainment.
Well, again, let me just remind our viewers and listeners, MovieGuide.org is a tremendous resource. So check it out and see what Ted does there with his organization, MovieGuide.org. How do you... What are your comments with all of the Duck Dynasty recognition? Of course, they had some controversy over the last couple of months, but besides that, their viewership is huge. What is that saying to the industry?
Well, what it says to the industry is that A&E couldn't drop them and has to pay more attention. And we've been talking to A&E, so we have a inside line on the programs that they do that are the Hollywood club programs, as I call them, are failing, and the programs that they do that reach out to America are doing well. It's a surprise to me. I mean, I've got to tell you, because every year I face this event and the statistics we do with fear and trembling, although I have faith in God. And the reason is that this only works, what we're doing, is because the people in the heartland of America support the good, the true, and the beautiful. This would not work if the Bible, before the Bible, I did a lot of radio shows in New York and whatever with secular stations who were saying this is going to be terrible. Pastors have said this isn't as good as it should be, and et cetera. And, I said, the people want this. And when 100 million people went out and watched the Bible on an A&E division, it just blew everybody away. Now, we tell them this all the time, but every time it works for them, like Superman, the head of founder of Legendary Pictures that does Superman, came to an event and said, the reason I put the Christian myth in there, the Christian myth, the Jesus myth in there, is because he said, I'm Jewish, but I put it in there because Movie Guide has showed us that we can make more money. So we're using a principle that Paul said, that they will come to Christ through their envy, which sounds a little rough, but if Paul said it, I can repeat it.
Well, there you go. It's got to be an interesting challenge to make sure that the spiritual integrity is there without being mocked. I mean, we saw the Grammys over the weekend, and it was pretty sad to see what happened there. But how do you police that?
Well, we don't police it. We monitor it.
Okay.
We do our report to the entertainment industry looks at about 122 criteria. A lot of the criteria are all the dramatic virtues. I mean, if you look at just the way drama is structured, you start off with a crisis. You've got to have jeopardy. That means something at stake you're worried about. Like Nemo has disappeared, and now Marlin has to find Nemo, and he has to swim the ocean. So you've got to have jeopardy. The jeopardy has to build. You've got to have Marlin hit a wall where he can't go any further. All of that is of dramatic principles. We call them things in the industry, semantics and tactics and all that fancy, dramatic lingo. A lot of the movies that are being chosen, for the Academy Award nominees or whatever, do not have those dramatic principles. The interesting thing is they may be cute for the Hollywood audience, but they've thrown their actual knowledge of drama out the window. We also look at all the philosophic criteria, and we also look at all the moral and then the theological criteria. So if somebody gets 122 points correct on ours, that means they've done a pretty good job.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, Ted, congratulations. Thank you for what you do. Let me encourage folks, check out MovieGuide.org and be watching for the MovieGuide Awards and all of those good things. This is terrific. Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. God bless you. All right, we'll be right back.